So welcome to the Future Engineering Career Talks from Bentley Education and Bentley Systems. So I'm very excited to have you here and very excited because this is the first out of many webinars like that will follow. So this is the UK Ireland edition. We are going to have quite many for many countries as well. And I'm very excited because this is something that I would like to have back in my early days when I was a civil engineering, as a graduate civil engineer, because it's something that I believe that it's quite needed for people when they would like to go from their university level to industry or something more level. And this is exactly what is the purpose of this talk today and this webinar. We are trying to provide career awareness to engineers who are at the moment in a university level, in a student level, and they would like to pursue a career in infrastructure. So here you will hear quite lots of advice. What do you need to do if you would like to go for a career in infrastructure? Not from me, I'm just the moderator here, but from our great speakers today. So just to let you know that our chat box will be open for questions and answers, but I would like to thank the attendees that registered before the event for their great questions. Trust me, I will ask lots of them in at the end, towards the end of the session of the event today. So we have here with us Deborah Sims. Deborah is the president of the Chartered Institution for Highways and Transportation. She is also the professor of University of Greenwich, and she will explaining us her journey towards her 25-year-old experience, actually, from starting from Mott MacDonald and ending up where she is now. And of course, she will be talking about which are these skills that we need in this digital infrastructure. And I'm saying digital infrastructure because I think now you might already know that unfortunately it's just digital infrastructure at the moment. We are changing pace, everything changes towards digitalization. So thank you, Deborah, for being here today with us. And going to the next speaker, our next speaker and second one will be Farhad Inam. Farhad is the professor of mechanical engineering in University of East London and the head of engineering and construction department and university there. So Farhad is also an ex-Airbus research and development professional. So he will be replying to any questions you have related to material revolution in transport infrastructure, but also he will tell you about which are the essential skills that you need someone to excel in a career in infrastructure. So hello, Farhad, and thank you for being here. And going to our third speaker, Juan Sebastián Cañavera Herrera. I hope I said this quite right, Juan. Sorry for any mistakes in pronunciation. So Juan will be the third speaker, and he will be talking about how from civil engineering, like from a degree in civil engineering, he managed to get a PhD in University of Cambridge and then follow his passion into creating resilient and sustainable cities in his current role at the moment in AECOM. So Juan, thanks a lot. And of course, he will be replying to your questions about how can you stand out in a potential employer. Sorry. And finally, our final and fourth speaker for today will be our own Zeljko Djuretic, who is a global director in Bentley Education in Bentley Systems. He has over 20 years of experience, and he will be talking about how Bentley Education, the new Bentley Education program, how can they help the new people in the career, the students in their career in infrastructure. So thank you, Zeljko, for joining us today. So I think we can go to just to again to let you know that our Q&A question, the Q&A section will be open in like 15 minutes before the event. So please, if you have any questions during the event, please keep them and you can ask them to the speakers later. So I think we can start. Deborah, if you would like to take the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Maria. Yes, I hope you can see my slides. Let me know if you can't. I'm just going to move you off there. There we go. Yes, I'm Deborah Sims. I'm very privileged to be the president this year of the Chartered Institution of Highways and Transportation. as you see as I go through the presentation, an awful lot of infrastructure is transport related. So we have a lot of things that are directly transport related. But even if it's not transport related, if you think about the kinds of infrastructure that we're talking about, it will all need access. So it will all need roads and other transport access. So we cover a very wide field, and we are very welcoming to anyone who's interested in a career in highways and transportation. And we have a number of different roles and grades that you can join us on. Get this working. Okay, so I was asked to talk about the fastest growing career opportunities in digital infrastructure that shouldn't be missed out on, and the exciting infrastructure projects in the UK and Ireland that need infrastructure engineers. And to be honest with you, that is such a broad topic. There is so much going on in the UK and Ireland at the moment, and so much in the pipeline for the future. So in my 10 minutes, and do keep me to 10 minutes, Maria, I'm going to really struggle to pack in as much as I can. If you think about what is infrastructure, so if we start with that, so just have a think about what you understand by the word infrastructure. I'm sure lots of different things will pop into your brain. There'll be lots of things that you think, oh, is that infrastructure? I'm not quite sure. So if we start with infrastructure, well, this is the list I came up with. So as I said to begin with, roads are the way that we access feedback. Roads are the way we access a lot of our infrastructure, and it's not just roads, it's all of the infrastructure that goes with that, all of the structures, all of the stuff that you can't see under the ground, lots of technology now being attached to roads, so the whole road and highway environment. It's also railways, and as we'll see, railways are really big in the UK at the moment. We're doing a lot on High Speed 2, which is the high profile one, but lots of other railway upgrades and so on. So it's not just the permanent way, not just the track, it's also the stations, the parking areas, the transport interchanges related to railways. Airports, bit of a contentious one with climate change. Should we be building more airports, more runways, more facilities? It depends who you talk to, but certainly I think for the short to medium term, we will be doing a lot more on airports. Bridges, huge amount of bridges. I used to look after what's known as Area 4, which is the motorway and trunk road network in Kent and Sussex, and we had over 800 bridges just on that part of the network. So I wouldn't like to hazard a guess as to how many bridges there are across the UK. They all need maintenance, they need upgrading, and in some cases we're building new bridges as well. Ports and harbours, lots of stuff going on there. There's a huge scheme which has just finished down in Dover, the Western Docks Revival, massive multi-million-pound project to improve the facilities at Dover, but lots more going on around the country as well. Power stations, we'll be hearing a lot more about this on the news. How are we going to get the energy that we need for going forward for the next few decades? We're moving out of fossil fuels, so we're closing down our carbon and eventually our gas power stations. What are we going to replace that with? Well, lots of stuff, lots of renewable energy coming on stream, and lots of infrastructure needed for that. Drainage, we know with changing climate and increased rainfall, heavier rainfall, increased sea levels and water levels generally, we're going to have to do some fairly radical things with our drainage. So lots of projects there. Not quite so glamorous, but sewage treatment works. So any of you in London will have seen the works for the Thames Tideway Tunnel. That's to provide a good, clean, efficient way of removing human waste effectively from the capital. The previous system was over 150 years old and was very out of date. And now we're putting in the Thames Tideway Tunnel. Sports facilities, so lots of leisure facilities, all sorts of things going on there. As we try and get people to be more active and improve their health, we need to build the facilities to help them with that. On the downside, hospitals and medical facilities, so state-of-the-art buildings and infrastructure to help people with their health and living longer and more healthily. I'll lump the next three together: schools, universities and colleges, all of our educational facilities. There's a huge programme on refurbishing and rebuilding schools. I've had a school built quite close to where I live and it looks absolutely fantastic. Very different to the school I went to, I have to say. And again, universities and colleges, making them ready for the 21st century, giving students the kind of facilities that they need to learn efficiently and effectively. Prisons, yes, sadly there is still a prisons programme going on, and we have a lot of infrastructure associated with the Ministry of Justice, a lot of outdated courtrooms and things like that that need to be brought into the right given the right facilities for current use. Things like municipal buildings for local authorities, lots of places of worship, etc., etc. So infrastructure covers all of these things and lots more beside. So what do we mean by digital infrastructure? This is the buzzword now. Well, some of you may know that for most pieces of major infrastructure now, there is what's called a digital twin. So this is a computer model that is built, designed, constructed long before anyone gets on site and picks up a shovel. This is a copy in every sense of what the final structure will look like. It allows you to design on the computer. So you're, instead of picking up, as I used to when I started, a rotating pen, you're actually doing everything straight into the computer. So any of you who love gaming and virtual realities, those sorts of things, this is right up your street. It allows you to test things. So that what if question, where you can change things around and see what happens. Much more cost effective, much cheaper, and much easier to do it on a digital model. Changing things. So if the client comes back to you and says, oh, I don't want 3 stories, I want 6 stories. If the legislation changes so that you now have to work to a different code, you can do that much more quickly in a digital model. It also allows you to consult and communicate with people, especially the public, but also your clients, elected representatives. I remember doing public meetings where you had to put technical engineering drawings up on a board, and often the public were very confused. They weren't used to seeing those sorts of drawings. But with a digital model, you can take that in, you can show them, you can look at things from different angles. So it's much better for communication. So why does all this matter? Well, reduced waste and the associated costs, because you're doing things digitally. So as you can imagine, it is more efficient. Getting this right first time approach when you get out on site. So you're not building things in the real world and then finding that it doesn't work because you've tested and trialed it in the digital model. There is an estimation that most pieces of infrastructure, depending on the complexity, have up to 30 redesigns, major redesigns in a digital model, which obviously you could never do in the real world. So you can get right first time. Improved collaboration and communication. I remember a few projects I was working on where different teams were not talking to each other, were not sharing their drawings and their knowledge, which led to confusion and in some cases rework and costs because that wasn't being shared. With a digital model, with a digital twin, you can do all of that online. So as a consultant, sub-consultant, specialist advisor, you've got all of that information at your fingertips. And ultimately, fewer surprises. So you're not having to go into your client and say, you remember that bridge we designed? Well, actually, it's turned into a tunnel or whatever. Sorry, that's a bad example. But you're not giving your client surprises about costs or overruns or even quality of the final product. So a quick word about what's being built at the moment, and there is so much. I'm just going to show you where to find it, really. There are a number of indices online. I chose the Glenigan one, which give you the top projects that are going on at the moment, the top 100 projects. And I took their list, which is pale in the background, and just looked at the civil infrastructure and utilities ones. And as you can see at the top, we've got the High Speed 2 infrastructure. So Euston is the top project, £2.2 million being spent there. We've got the Northolt Tunnels, Chiltern and Colnway, and there are a few further down as well. We've also got a lot of energy projects on here as well. So Phase 1 Energy Centre, Gateway Energy Centre, Cleve Hill, which is not far away from where I live, a big solar park, quite a controversial one, but we'll skip over that. Number of other transport ones. I said how important transport is. So the Midland Metro extension, what else have we got there? Welsh Rail schemes. Basically, wherever you are, there is a major project not that far away from you going on right at the moment. And if you're interested in this area, please get out, talk to people, see if you can get a site visit and see what's happening, because it's just such an exciting time to be in infrastructure. What's going to be built over the next 10 years? Well, again, that's a really positive story. So I looked at the National Infrastructure Planning website, which again is open to the public, so you can go and have a look. And you can see the projects, and there are 193 major infrastructure projects in the pipeline. So they're at different stages, pre-application, acceptance, all the way through to decision. But these are largely projects which are going to be built over the next 10, 20 years. And again, you can go on, look at different parts of the country and see which ones will interest you. And we have the pipeline now, the National Infrastructure and Construction Pipeline. So again, you can go on. This is a major scheme that I happen to know about. Mott MacDonald, actually, I think, are working on this one. The A428 Black Cat to Caxton Gibbet, looking at a congestion problem in Bedfordshire. £1.6 billion being spent on that. So a really significant project. And as you can see, lots of other ones, high speed again, and Highways England, now known as National Highways, doing lots and lots of projects. And a big one that I'm tracking at the moment is the Lower Thames Crossing, just up the road from my university, will be of real interest to my students, and hopefully we'll be able to get visits, graduate placements, and a work experience on that project. I'm certainly in communication with them about that. Very exciting. So a few other just pictures for you. This is the kind of thing, this is an architect's image of one of the stations for High Speed 2, state-of-the-art, really exciting rail project. This is Hinkley Point down in Somerset, I believe, massive power project, currently with the largest crane in Europe running there. This is Lower Thames Crossing, which I mentioned just down the road from me. This is a couple of power projects. This one is up in the northeast, and this one is just beside the Thames in London. And at the back, you can see the plans for the Cleve Hill solar plant. So what might be built in the future? Well, who knows? You know, this is basically a blank page, and I'd encourage you to get involved in this. Certainly, I think transport will be up there for a long time. I think energy, clean energy, green energy is going to be the way forward. So we'll need to be coming up with new ideas, new projects for that. And the sky's the limit, really, in terms of what might be built in the future. We need all sorts of digital skills, so people who have a background in digital engineering, but people who can visualize and imagine things as well. Civil engineers, structural engineers, infrastructure engineers, highway engineers and technicians, designers, and the actual people on the build side. As you can see there, a message from the BBC about the lack of digital skills. So if this is something that you're thinking about, go for it. The jobs are going to be there, the opportunities are going to be there, and what an exciting thing to build something on a computer and then actually go and see it in real life. We need lots of different skills, and I know my colleagues will be talking about this in a bit more detail. Technical competence, yes, but that's the basic. We need people with good communication skills, carbon literacy, so you understand about climate change, digital literacy, creativity. You know, sometimes engineers are thought of as a bit nerdy and a bit boring. Not at all. Really creative, really innovative people. Leadership, a lot of these roles are going to be very senior, professional roles, not at operative level, although we need them as well. So people who've got real career ambitions, this is a sector for you. And dare I say it, we need common sense. So people who can think on their feet, problem solvers. I've put some links up here. There are lots of other places to find out information. But if you want to be a civil engineer, start with the Institution of Civil Engineers. They've got a fantastic website with lots of resources, lots of stuff about climate change as well there. Similarly, the Institution of Structural Engineers, very long established, very professional organisation, specifically for structural engineers. My own professional body, CIHT, for anyone interested in highways and transportation. We also have the Permanent Way Institute, which is the professional body for railway engineers, and the Institute of Highway Engineers. I've put these up there because collectively they form something called the Joint Board of Moderators. They accredit degrees for the built environment or for civil engineering. So if you're interested in a career, make sure you get an accredited degree accredited by these organisations. Thank you very much, Maria. That's everything I want to say. I look forward to seeing the questions a bit later on.
Absolutely, Deborah. That was a great insight into industry and what was the past projects. And I can definitely relate with these huge papers on the top of a car, usually, when you were showing that these two designs. So thank you so much. I think that will be very helpful. And I see that some of them would like to make a question. Just to inform you again, the question box, the question messages, the text one will be open in a quarter before the event. So please hold the question, write it down. And Deborah, thank you so much. We are going to Farhad Inam. Farhad, please, can you please share your screen and your face, of course, if you want. Thank you so much. Hello, Farhad.
Thank you very much, Maria. Excellent. Very nice to hear from Deborah. Definitely learned a lot. So thank you very much, first of all, to Bentley for inviting me to present this great presentation. I'm going to talk about knowledge, skills, and behaviors that are expected from prospective engineers and construction managers. As you can see, as I have been introduced at the beginning, my name is Fawad. I'm a full professor of mechanical engineering at the University of East London, and I'm also heading a department known as Engineering and Construction. Now, before I do that, I just want to make this confession that I'm not a civil engineer, I'm a mechanical engineer. So I'm going to talk about what it is required to work in infrastructure projects into various different industries, whether it's civil engineering oriented or whether it's mechanical engineering oriented. I'm a chartered engineer, as you can see on the map on the left-hand side. If it's clear, you can see that I have been working with various organizations. When I was in London, I was working on Ministry of Defense project, developing some other commercial projects, which are now a multi-million-pound industry. Previous to joining my existing employer, I was working at Airbus as a R&D professional. And before that, I was working with the offshore industry and developing some marine infrastructure when I was working for Technip. But today, I am going to talk more about my Airbus experience, which is an exciting one, I must say. But before I do that, I think it's very important to highlight one of the key area of growth. This was a study that was published earlier this year by Engineering Professor Council, which is in one of the esteemed bodies here in the UK. And clearly, for all those prospective engineers or students in already studying engineering, you can see that UK presents a great opportunity for employment for the future engineers. As you can see, if you concentrate on the colored image on the left-hand side, if you are an engineering graduate, you are likely you will be definitely earning much more in comparison to graduates in law, in medicine, in accountancy, etc. And clearly, as you can see, that it is a driver for social mobility. Now, when we talk about social mobility, it's not just about traveling. It is about changing the class of people, improving the quality of life, and engineering is a key destination to actually get that done. If you concentrate on the bottom right-hand side, you will realize that irrespective of your prior attainment in terms of the points, your median earnings will still be higher than in comparison to the other disciplines. And this is, again, a great way, a great mode of study, a great way to earn more, and at the same time, a very rewarding and fulfilling career. Now, in terms of the knowledge, skills, and behavior that are required, obviously, Deborah did present a number of these areas. But if you can go through this list, I mean, if there's something I want you to take away, it's probably a screenshot of what I'm displaying at the moment. It's possible for you to easily grab the technical skills. It's possible for you to grab the technical knowledge, the analytical content that is required for you to become a civil engineer, a railway engineer, an infrastructure engineer. But what really matters when you're actually in a profession is the non-technical, are these professional life skills like mental resilience, emotional intelligence, ability to communicate and influence technical as well as non-technical audience, agility, understanding of social and cultural perspectives, having the right knowledge of ethical and legal dimensions. And these are the most important things nowadays that are being looked for when you are actually going for an employment. Obviously, Deborah mentioned about engineering is all about solving problems. So if you have the right problem-solving constructive mindset, you will be very successful and you will climb up the ladders, because this is exactly what the employers are looking for. And I have actually presented, if you concentrate on the image on the right-hand side at the University of East London, these are the key areas which we focus on to ensure that you have the right emotional intelligence and the resilience that is required for you to cope in this 21st century of engineering era. And obviously, Bentley has been a great partner when it comes to digital proficiencies, when it comes to digitization. You can see what our students do. They can actually, we'll never allow them to go on this prototype of Gherkin. You can see that they're posing, they are standing, they're putting quite a lot of mass on the structure. And this was all designed by using Bentley software packages, and we'll never allow them to go up there and to take this photograph if it's not structurally worthy. And it's a great partnership that we have with Bentley, which is enabling us to ensure that our students are having a great understanding of digital proficiency, digital literacy that is ever so required now. I want to talk about a different type of air infrastructure, and this is where when you think about a flight from Singapore to New York, passengers are spending around 18 hours inside a flight. Now, for me, infrastructure is a managed space where there's interaction, where there's comfort for human beings, and of course, there's a lot going on. Certainly, from engineering perspective, you can see that there's quite a lot of structural elements that are associated to this particular dynamic infrastructure. And I just want to highlight what has been going on in terms of all these different KSBs, the knowledge, skills, and behavior I mentioned associated with this infrastructure. A few years ago, I was actually involved in the development of this product. This is Airbus A350. And there's a great materials revolution that has taken place. Obviously, we discussed about carbon literacy. We discussed about reducing the carbon footprint. This is the year of COP26. And obviously, as you know, that we are facing a global climate emergency. And one of the major pollutants we can see in engineering at the moment is, of course, the air mobility, the urban transportation by aircraft. So what the aircraft industry is doing to completely change the materials used for these great dynamic infrastructures. So we are moving away from metallic materials and towards reinforced plastics. Yes, these are carbon fiber, reinforced epoxy composite materials. They are 4 times lighter in comparison to their aluminum counterpart. And I had a great experience for a number of years when I was developing this great product for Airbus. But apart from that, engineering is not just about change of materials, it's also about learning from Mother Nature. And this is what we call as biomimicking, putting sharklets at the end of the wingtips, making the wings more morphing, having the latest generation Rolls-Royce engine. And this has all producing a great difference to this great product, which is helping us to achieve more sustainable future. So there's quite a lot of team working, there's quite a lot of integration, there's quite a lot of social and cultural perspective involved for developing this great product, because Airbus is a European company. They have their headquarters in Toulouse in France, and UK is one of the supply chain base for the development of this great product. So in terms of different engineering, again, I just want to take this opportunity to showcase, as Deborah mentioned, that there are a number of organizations. If you're planning to study infrastructure, civil engineering, construction management, railway engineering, engineering management, UEL, University of East London is a great place, because all of these courses I mentioned are accredited by the different organizations shown by Deborah. And in the end, I just want to conclude by this famous quotation by Dale Carnegie, who is actually one of the prominent writers over the past, from the past. What employers are really looking for when you look at the engineers, your financial success is dependent 15% on your technical knowledge. Okay, if you know how to make structural beams, how to put things in order, how to balance equations, how to solve puzzles, that's fine. But 85% is due to skill in human engineering, personality, and ability to lead people, to cut short, ability to solve problems in a constructive manner. And that's what really matters for all those prospective engineers, for all those managers who are looking for positions. This is what is important. You need to work on your interpersonal into your professional skills. You need to understand sustainability. You need to understand design. You need to understand lean thinking. You need to have the right digital proficiency, financial proficiency, economic sense, cultural understanding, ethical and legal dimensions of any engineering problem, any project that you're going to work on. And you need to understand how to deal with people and how to influence them in a positive manner, how to be a problem solver. This is what is now important for you to succeed in this global village. Thank you very much for your time. I know I've taken 10 minutes. You can follow me on LinkedIn. This is my email address. But at the same time, I've got over 200,000 followers on my TikTok. That's Engineer by Design. If you're interested to know more about sustainable engineering, there are more than 210,000 followers there. Please do follow me on that channel as well. And thank you very much for your attention. I'm sure you'll have questions for me right at the end. I'm over 10 minutes now, so I'll stop now. Thank you very much, Maria.
Thank you, Farad. That was quite inspiring, and I will definitely follow you on TikTok. And thank you. It was quite inspiring, and for all these actually job opportunities that you gave in the University of East London. So thanks, Juan Sebastián Cañavera Herrera. So thanks for joining us today. I know that you would like to talk, not share slides. That's or whatever you, however you feel. So I know that for Juan, that he was a civil engineer. Then he went for a PhD in University of Cambridge. He got the PhD. Now he's doing his great job in climate change and a resilient, trying to create sustainable and resilient cities. So Juan, what you would like to speak us about?
Thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yes, absolutely.
That's good. Yeah, well, I wanted to first start talking a little bit about myself and my road to where I am right now. So thanks for the introduction, and thanks for the nice pronunciation of my name. It's nice to hear someone actually saying it correctly. So as you said, my name is Juan Sebastián Cañavera Herrera. I'm originally from Colombia, from Bogota. I studied civil engineering in the National University of Colombia. During my year in university, I also did an exchange year to Germany, where I was for a year. So in total, my undergrad was 6 years. It's usually 5, but I did 6 because of this. And perhaps that's the first advice that I will give to students. I don't know at what level you are, but if you are in undergrad, always doing an exchange year could be, or well, trying to do an exchange program is a fantastic opportunity to learn how engineering is done in other cultures, in other contexts, how people look at problems and try to solve them in other ways, and that can help you develop different things as the ones that our previous speakers have said, like people skills, cultural skills, and also improves your creativity in the sense that allows you to see things from other perspectives. Learning another language always helps you completely to see another different world. It's kind of like getting a key to access a hidden room, which is full of treasures that you didn't know. So for example, I learned German, and then I had full access to all the German technical knowledge, which is the second most or is the second language in which most technical papers and technical documents are published. And then after that, I worked for a year in Colombia in a very big project with my undergrad supervisor. So sometimes people or students don't see the importance of beginning to build relationships as well with the staff of university, especially your supervisors. If they're educators, they're very likely to be people to be very interested in helping you kind of like advance, and they're doing that job because they're passionate about it. So I was very lucky that my undergrad supervisor had this opportunity for me to work in this very big project on airports in Colombia, looking at the strength of runways. So I was not looking at airplanes like FAWAD, but I was looking at the runways at more at the transport side of things. I have always been very interested in roads and in transport infrastructure. And that was a very interesting kind of like first job because brought me into a sector I didn't know. So sometimes it's good to, at the beginning, to be open to go to different sectors and try to kind of learn from different things. So I knew nothing about airports in general. Like I didn't see anything about it in undergrad, and then I learned very, very interesting things about the kind of like behind the scenes of airports and how they are run, how they're constructed, and now wherever I go, I kind of understand a bit better how things go. And then I applied to Cambridge, the University of Cambridge, to a joint program they call 1+3, a Master in Research and PhD in Future Infrastructure and Built Environment. Thankfully, I got admitted to it. For an international student, sometimes it's not that easy. So if anyone is an international student, I can relate with you because it's not easy sometimes to access the UK system and kind of understand how it works. But then I had a fantastic time in the University of Cambridge. I wouldn't say that PhDs are for everyone. I wouldn't not encourage everyone to do it because it's quite tough. You need a lot of mental resilience, as Fawad was pointing out. That's also part of the job. But academia and research in itself, when you want to go through that path as an engineer, is very interesting because if you have questions about the world, there's always two ways to doing it. Maybe you can answer them through practical work, but when you are in the private sector, you're always managed by the demands of the job, by the demands of the market, and sometimes you cannot look precisely at what you want. But then if you want a more welcoming space in which you can look at questions that you have about the world, maybe academia is a good place to do that. And I did that in the sense of looking at climate change adaptation, which was a very new topic, I think, when I started doing my PhD. And I did my PhD on adaptation planning of urban road infrastructure. I did it from a socio-technical perspective because I had this intuition through my first experiences as an engineer that the technical side, as was already pointed out, is a very minimum percent of the whole job. And sometimes when we are in undergrad, your world is just around that, about knowing the technical, being very good at it. And then there's a whole social, economic context around infrastructure, which has this massive influence on what are the decisions that are made in real life about infrastructure. So I was like, I need to learn more about how to learn about it, how to include it in our frameworks as engineers. And that's what I did on my PhD in terms of learning about how to use social methods, which are also part of what I think an engineer should have in its toolbox. Learning how to interview people, for example, how to get information, also seeing the value of qualitative data, which is something that sometimes we forget. And in terms of how did I prepare myself to get to the job, universities here in the UK in general have very good career services. So at least in Cambridge, I began to think about it. It's always good to plan ahead. So not do that, not think like, oh, I'm just gonna do that when I submit my thesis or when I submit my last project. It's always good to do it while you're doing all those things because you want to have a heads up. The career services in universities are fantastic as they usually have webinars like this one where you can go and see things in things like, for example, I went in Cambridge to a webinar about how to make my LinkedIn profile much better and appealing, or how to hack the algorithm in LinkedIn. And that's an important thing, unfortunately, nowadays as part of the digital literacy that we need to have. Because many people are looking for new recruits through LinkedIn, and if you don't show the keywords they're looking for, or you kind of like put these flags to attract them, you will not get their attention. And there's other things like communication in the sense of like learning how to make appropriate presentations, how to do good posters if you're going to conferences, things like this, and always another important thing to do in university besides using the career service is maybe doing volunteering in different activities. So for example, I created with some other Colombians the Colombian Society, the Student Colombian Society of Cambridge, which I was the first president of. And that gave me a lot of those soft skills, or helped me develop all those soft skills that our previous presenters were talking about, in how to manage people, how to manage stakeholders, which is a huge issue in infrastructure, how to manage different conflicting values or worldviews. So those are things you should do. So just to summarize, as I see that I'm running out of time, is create relationships, especially with people at your university, like your mentors or your supervisors. They are very well connected. They can help you in many things. But do it not in a very utilitarian way, but in a very honest and kind of like a good way. Like don't try to be very utilitarian. Think about your online presence, especially in LinkedIn if you're looking for jobs. It's also good to have things like Twitter if you want to make a Twitter account that is very professional, or a blog, something that shows or that allows you to put your thoughts not only out, but also to kind of help you better increase your communication skills, which is also important. You have to practice. It's a muscle you have to use all the time. And don't be afraid to do different things aside technical stuff. Like, it's very important to look at social aspects, even things like and volunteering work, like, or even things like sports, dance, anything help you kind of like improve your other soft skills that are, as mentioned before, much more important than just the technical stuff.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Juan. I really enjoyed the social aspect you gave for the engineering, because again, it's not just the technical part, it's also the social part. And definitely, I also second the University of Cambridge Career Services, because it was something that helped me a lot as well. So thank you so much for that. And of course, I saw there were too many questions that we have to take them at the end of the session. So thanks a lot. And we are going now to our next and final speaker for today, Mr. Zelko Djuretic, who will be talking about new Bentley education policy, new Bentley education program, and how this will help the new students to enhance their career in infrastructure. So Zelko, over to you.
Right, so let me unmute myself first, and then, am I sharing a PowerPoint?
Yep.
All right, great. Right, so it's a great pleasure to be here today to talk to you guys. My goal for this coming 10 minutes is really to give you a bit of insight into where we feel industry is going, and with that, what kind of jobs are there and will be in demand. And then to provide you, as Maria said, with some resources, or better to say, guide you towards the resources that might help you understand better this career that you chose or career that you're about to choose. So a little bit about myself. Yeah, I'm with Bentley, looking after academic program for the last 21 years. Really, over these 21 years, this became my passion. It's not really a job anymore, but it is a passion, working with academia to help promoting engineering education, as well as help incorporating technologies into teaching. I've been involved over my tenure. I've been involved in a number of educational projects across the globe, from a very, very young kids to projects with, well, not as young as that kid on a screen. That's my son when he was 2 months old, but very young kids to students, to postgraduate students, young professionals. Some of those number of those educational programs have been recognized by local governments, like the one that you see there on a photo with the UK government. Our goal have always been the same: basically encouraging young minds to join this great industry and support their ambitions by providing them with the resources to advance their learning and at the same time their careers. Significant part of my time, of our time, is spent on bringing together academia and industry, so that, as the slide says, teaching becomes more relevant to the industry needs, while academia gets better insight into industry directions. So why is that needed? Well, in my experience, where there is no good cooperation between industry, technology vendors, and academia, the result is very often a gap between skills that students acquire during their studies and skills that industry expect them to have, especially digital skills gap. Where there is a good cooperation between those parties, students graduate with the skills that are highly in demand and can land them great jobs. So just briefly, what are those skills that industry is looking for in our mind? Well, forward-moving, forward-thinking infrastructure companies, they're looking for candidates with a good mix of skills and some experience, hopefully through internships, working on innovative technologies, whether those are digital twins or ARs or VRs. They're looking for candidates who are ambitious, flexible, adaptable, but most importantly, who are lifelong learners. And why lifelong learner? If you think about it, academia is preparing you for your first job, or if you're already working, preparing you for your current job or your next job. But job that you might have in 5 years, on 10 years, probably doesn't even exist anymore. Or if it does exist, it will probably look completely different in 5 to 10 years. And that's why it is incredibly important to be a lifelong learner. Just, to stay current, to stay ahead of the curve. A significant part of new graduate jobs will be, and Deborah touch upon that as well, to drive innovation and increase productivity to avoid project delays and cost overruns. There will always be demand to make things better, stronger, faster, and companies want to see students who understand the need for innovation and can make a positive impact on the world by solving real-world issues. And students should understand the big picture. You should have an insight into full project lifecycle infrastructure asset from a planning and design to development, construction, to operation and maintenance phase, right? All right, so what kind of jobs are there? And again, this is just very, very briefly, I will show you later on where the resources are and where and how we can get into deeper discussion on, okay, how do I get there? How do I find those jobs? Well, so what kind of jobs are out there? Well, as outlook for digitalization, especially in AC industry, is very bright. A recent McKinsey study reports tell us that we should expect about 200 million additional jobs by 2030 in this industry. So yeah, guys, you're in a good space. Deborah touched upon digital twins. Digital twins are gaining momentum, and they will gain momentum. And they will require more specialists or experts to handle the processes of digital twinning. Also, as the digital twin platforms accumulate immense amount of data, it will open many opportunities for the data analysts, the researchers, where individuals with analytical skills and experience in spotting data trends will be in demand. Many construction companies are starting to utilize cloud applications and other technologies, such as VR, AR, VR in a different and interesting ways. And there will be increased demand for skilled professionals who are trained in those technologies. Also with that, at the same time, there will be new jobs coming up for security experts to fight the battle with the cyber criminals in infrastructure. Looking at the current trends and project growth in certain technologies, we can think of new jobs around the drone and automatic vehicle commanding and so on. With the goal of upgrading existing facility and laying the foundation for future economic growth, many nations are highly investing into roads and rails and utilities and smart cities, thus creating more jobs opportunity for the future generation. Okay, so where does Bentley Education comes in? Bentley Education is about helping students developing skills that will help them in a real world. And it's about guiding them basically to find an existing fulfilling career by providing an opportunity to read about what others are doing, to talk with others, industry, and so on. Let me illustrate what I mean by walking you through the Bentley portal that we recently released. We released it actually back in May And since then, we had over 700,000 visits. So I guess I have to stop presenting now and go to the next screen, right? And start presenting again. There you go. Can you see it? Right. So again, this is a portal that we recently released 5 months ago. Well, yeah, since May, more than 700,000 visitors since then. And you can see here things that you can expect from a technology company like us. Obviously, we provide the software, and this is the same software that is used by those industries that my colleagues were talking about. Exactly the same software that is available, obviously, at no costs. At the same time, we are also providing the training on those applications. So it's as simple as picking up your field of study, and then if you know application, picking up application and following the courses. And then we have resources for educators, from resources that can basically help educators create their own teaching material, creating their own course material, from project-based learning to example of different courses to insight into industry trends and so on. But really part that I'm really proud on, and I think it is very different from I didn't see any other technology vendor doing this, is this part where do I even hey I'm considering education, I'm considering technical education as a choice. Do I even know what is in it, what civil engineering student does? So here are example of some. Eliza, for example, is talking about her wanted to become a medical doctor as her parents are, and then being exposed to design, engineer, construct course in her secondary school, and now she's studying civil engineering at Heriot-Watt. Then we have young engineers talking about why did they choose this as a career, and then we have industry members being interviewed by students, explaining what are they looking for in new graduates, what kind of skills, how to present themselves, how to do the interview, and all those practical things that young minds do not necessarily know when they are graduated. Do I even know how to write a CV? Do I even know what the BIM manager does from 9 to 5 and so on? So all those kind of resources are available here. The other one, for example, our communities. Really, through our communities, we are addressing this gap, I think, by building a mentorship culture where professionals can coach and transfer their knowledge and expertise to young generations. So we are giving students an opportunity. I mentioned you saw the video of young student interviewing industry member. Well, you can be that student. Just drop us an email, connect with us on the communities, and you can be that student interviewing an industry member, asking questions like, what is going to take me, what kind of skills are going to land me a job, what are you looking for in new graduates. So a lot is available here. This portal basically reflects our business, our approach towards academia. This is what we do, and we would love you, whether you are a student, educator, or industry member. We would like you to come and work with us so we can help students jump starting their careers. That's all from me, Maria.
Thank you, Zelko, and thank you for showing us all this great stuff that Bentley offers. And of course, that we offer also competitions for students that would be starting on April. I think Monica has already posted the website of Bentley Education on the chat box. By the way, the chat box is open, so if you have any questions for our speakers, now is your chance, but not only, no worries. I think I have if I could ask from our speakers to unmute themselves, and also if they're willing to also show their videos. so we can have a small panel, because I think I got some questions for you from other since the registration process. So there, of course, we have only 4 minutes till the end of the event. Is it okay for you, because we are so organized here, is it okay for you if we take it a bit like 5 minutes later? Or if anyone needs to drop, let me know. I can so I can, speed up the process. Is everyone okay with this?
It's okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And I will be asking some questions. Actually, most of the questions have already been replied by you from your presentation. Most of the questions were about skills. What do I need? How can I stand out as a person, as a new employee? So I have a question which I think it should be answered by Juan, probably, because this Akash from the Teesside University of the UK asks, how can he stand out to be to an employer if he doesn't have that much experience? Which is something that I think everyone has this as a question. So Juan, what do you think?
So that's a very good question. Thanks very much. It's not easy to answer because obviously each employer is looking for different things. But I think what it could be good advice is first understanding what your potential employer is looking for. So some people forget to do that. They just think like, oh, I'm just good, they will hire me. And you have to understand that it's a two-way process. It's not only what the company can offer you, but also what you are bringing into the company. How are you going to solve their problems? Because you have to fit very well into that company and understand what they're needing. So just by doing that, having put some time into understanding how the company works, how the employer, what are the employer needs, what are they actually doing at the moment, helps you already stand out because it shows that you actually care. So that's a very important thing, to show that you actually care. It's not only, oh, I'm just trying to get a job. The other thing is, in my opinion, and I think it's maybe Deborah, Fawad, and Sergio can second me on that, is to show that you're a well-rounded person. And obviously, we're all human beings, and at the end of the day, we want to work with people we kind of like or that we can stand. So if you can show that you're more beyond the technical knowledge, that you're a well-rounded person that has interest in things like, I don't know, I really like literature, for example, or movies. Anything else that will make you stand out, because people will remember you as someone that is not just a boring technical person that can come and talk to me about all the Euro codes I already know. So I think that will be, so that's why it's important to have evidence of that by doing, as I was saying, extracurricular things. So as I was saying, I was the president of the Colombian Society. That helps me show that I can take things on, like managing people, talking to people, trying of like having this cultural interchange between the UK and Colombians that help me kind of like show evidence for that. So also making a list of evidence for many things, and be proud of whatever you have done. So that's another thing. Sometimes people are not proud of what they have done, and it's obviously, you have to understand that obviously you don't have experience, but that's normal. You were born 18, 20 years ago. You're not expected to be 10-year experienced person already. But you have done things, so be very proud of anything you have done and show how it had helped you to become the person you are right now. And also show how you think the potential employer is going to help you get to where you want to be in X amount of time.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Juan. So yeah, connect with industry, show your interest, being a homo universalis, according to Leonardo da Vinci, and then possibly you will get the job. Okay, no, I'm kidding. So the next question, I would like Deborah to answer this question, because I think it's about females in our sector. So Anjali from India actually asks, why do females have less opportunities in the industry? Do you think this applies, Deborah, or not?
I really don't. And I have to say, from my own students and people I know in the industry, as a woman in what is largely what I prefer to call a male-friendly rather than male-dominated environment, you have to be that much better. And luckily that's not difficult, but actually women are much more passionate about what they do. They've chosen to make this choice into engineering and infrastructure, sometimes against parental and careers advice, and they absolutely love it. I have so many examples of really good students of mine who were great when they were here studying and are now in quite senior jobs, and they've gone on to do really well. So I don't think there are fewer opportunities. I think something happens to girls round about the age of 14 where they suddenly think, oh, engineering, not sure about that. But if you can get through that, if you can stick with your passion, and the world is over 50% female. So why have we not got women designing towns and cities? Why have we not got women designing transport infrastructure? Why have we not got women, in all of these roles? Because we use it, and we're part of the, we're a big part of the world that needs it. So we need to be in there making those changes. And if I can go back to the earlier question, get out there, become a STEM ambassador. That's a great piece of advice, because you give back to your profession, you go in and talk to school children, and certainly if you're a female student, even, you don't even have to be an engineer, going in and talking to a class of girls about your passion for engineering is so powerful. Get involved with your professional bodies. They are really supportive. My own body, we have an EDI policy. We're desperately trying to get more women into transport planning and highways. We're doing reasonably well, but there's more to be done. And get online. As Zelko said, there's so much stuff now available online, lots of webinars, virtual site visits, all sorts of things. And that's for everyone. It's not a male-female thing. There are lots of opportunities, but we need to get more women into the pipeline and get them studying the right subjects, coming to university. Wouldn't it be great if half my students were female? I'd love that, and I'm sure Fawad would be the same. It's just not the case. And if they don't come in at that stage, then it's much more difficult to have that equality going forward into the industry.
Absolutely. Yes, I absolutely also agree. Become the role model that the new generation of females need, not only females but males as well. So thank you so much, Deborah. Thank you for your answer. And I think I have a question for Fahad from Emmanuel from Teesside University. Thank you for your question, Emmanuel, by the way. What does it take for a mechanical design engineer to get a job in the UK? Fahad, I know you are in the field, so would be easy to answer. Please unmute yourself. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much, Maria. Like I said, it is about presenting yourself in a holistic manner, someone who understands the big picture. I really like that from Zelko's presentation. If you are technically competent, which you will be once you graduate with great classification, obviously the employers are looking for your instincts, your personality, that combination of qualitative and quantitative aspects, as mentioned by Juan as well. And I think it's all about those professional life skills that you have to demonstrate, apart from technically and analytically correct. And this is what is required. When you talk about design, you mentioned about design, obviously you need to have lean, you need to have Six Sigma, you need to have that sustainable mindset that you have to somehow demonstrate, whether it's through your presentation of case studies when you are doing your interviews or when you're writing your application. So all that matters, and that would help you to stand out of the crowd, because obviously, like we are all talking about today, that engineers are the problem solvers. The global crisis that we are in the moment, when it comes to climate, when it comes to sustainability, when it comes to creation and being more productive of opportunities, this is exactly what the employers want to see. They want to see you contributing to the economic and professional development of the environment, and that would put you in a standout of crowd position. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. Thank you, Fawad. It's great answer. I think Emmanuel will be happy with that. I have one question for Zelko, because there are people also in the chat that Lucky Verma, if I'm not correct me for my pronunciation again, and also from the registration process, Mohammed Abu, he's a professor, and they are all asking about how can an international student or non-international, like I guess UK student, can acquire a software version for teaching and learning So I think, Zelko, you mentioned something about it during the presentation. If you could elaborate on that.
Oh yeah, so it doesn't get more simple than going to the portal that I just showed you, and I think Monica shared a link to the portal. Registering yourself, you click a button and you download the software. It's as simple as that. And if you run into any troubles, then obviously there is a support there, and you can drop a text message in our communities. But it is very, very straightforward. It is as simple as registering on a portal, clicking a button and downloading software. Same goes for training and for pretty much all other resources that are available there.
And free of charge, the most important thing.
That's given.
Yes, yes. So thank you, Zelko. So I'm going a little bit to the chat box and some questions that I can see here. So there are two people, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I saw the question. I think one of them is Alamad Bahan. So again, sorry for the pronunciation. And another person who is asking about Ram, who is asking about BIM related jobs. So Deborah, would you like to expand, like, so how UK industry BIM, is it something that is still ongoing? It's not ongoing? Shall people go pursue this type of careers? No, go somewhere else? What do you think?
Well, BIM stands for Buildings Information Modeling, although it's much broader than that now. And some people think it's specific software. It's not. It's the whole kind of hearts and minds about digital design and doing things digitally. So it's project specific. So for a very small project, you may just, I don't know, have an Excel spreadsheet or something, something very small, and a small design package. But for the major projects, and certainly for government projects, it was mandated a few years ago that they all have to be BIM level 2. So we're seeing that across the board on all of these mega projects that I mentioned, that BIM is there as an integral part of the design. Because it started with buildings, it's been relatively slow to some sectors. So my sector, highways and transportation, there was a period where lots of people were doing buildings using BIM, but it wasn't the case for highways. That's no longer the case. It's there everywhere, and it's really embedded. And it just makes so much sense, doesn't it, to use those design packages, get them talking to each other, have this common data environment, share information across all of the teams, all of the people involved with the project. As I said in my presentation, to reduce waste, reduce costs, and just give designers the flexibility. I'm of a generation, and I tell my students this and they don't believe me, but everything was drawn in ink on an acetate page, and if anything was changed, you had to get a razor blade and change it physically by scraping off that ink. And I can't tell you how long it took to do a design package for even quite a small highway. We don't have that now. We're using all of these tools. We're visualizing things much more. It's really exciting. And from a designer's point of view, it gives you all of these opportunities. And then I was up at King's Cross a little while ago, and we had a talk on BIM in the lecture room. So I was looking at all of these amazing drawings. And then through the window of that site office, you could see the actual building going up physically beside you. Absolutely amazing. Loved it.
Oh, wow, that's quite nice. And thank you so much, Deborah. I think that question is answered. So I would like to ask Juan. That's a question, I think, for you, Juan, from Yulan. So hi, this is Yulan. I have a question. What do you think? What is the next big breakthrough in the civil or structural engineering industry? What do you think, Juan?
That's a tough one.
I'm sorry. Okay, I can give you another question. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I think there's different ones in the sense that unfortunately, civil engineering has been one of the few industries that has a huge inertia regarding like new technologies, and I think that's what's slowly changing. So the digital revolution is one of the, I think, the big breakthroughs in terms of managing data and managing digital models. But the other thing, I think, there's other revolutions in terms of materials, innovative materials, innovative ways of constructing things, like doing massive 3D construction, 3D printing of things. And I think coming back to more natural materials. So there's a huge revolution in the making in terms of the use of woods. and how to use wood more thoroughly in engineering. And there's ideas of making skyscrapers with wood, for example. I had no idea that there was also ideas of putting them in planes until I saw Fawad's presentation. So that's very cool. So,
Absolutely.
so yeah, I think maybe those are the big trends.
Thank you, Juan. Zelko, what do you think? Any big breakthrough in civil engineering? Also, I have quite many questions for you about courses from Bentley in Stat Pro, in structural design. People are asking for Stat Pro and everything. So yeah, first the civil breakthrough in infrastructure.
So I think, Juan, I think you touched upon two very, very important areas, and the first one is construction industry and digitalization. And I think we are at the beginning there. We are really at the beginning. There is a long way to go. And so what will happen? What will happen as this industry becomes more digitized? We don't know. But I was listening to discussion about Tesla, and someone said Tesla is not a company. It's not a car company. Tesla is data company, and that is so true. And that is going to be true, I think, for most of the companies in this industry down the few years down the road. Think of digital twins. Think of amount of data that is going to be available, and think of how do you make sense of the data, how do you manage it, how do you use the data to predict. So this is, I believe, the area where breakthroughs are going to come from. But what exactly breakthrough is going to be, hey, I wish I know that.
Very good. And also, again, for the questions related to Bentley products, Stat Pro, you can find the link again. We also posted, Zelko also already mentioned about it. So, and one last question before we wrap up everything to Farhad. There is Lucky Verma that they see that I don't know if it's a female or male, so apologies for that. How can I get more confidence in design of structures? Which is a very tough question. Sorry for that, but yeah, any suggestions or any thoughts on that?
Yes. So I think, Lucky, what you need to look at when you talk about structures, obviously this is an engineered solution. Obviously, you need to have the right conception. First of all, you need to ensure that your theory is correct, and then you need to somehow mimic the design, whether it's digitally, which is likely be the case nowadays, where you actually digitize your design and then you run it through a simulation to test its effectiveness. And this is how, in a way, you are digitally analyzing and testing, and you are looking at different nodes and different focal and stress points in your design. And but obviously, it requires a lot of understanding whether the criteria you are putting in is the right one, the von Mises failure criteria, and all different technical aspects, the variables associated to that. So I think it's all about getting it right and testing it, and then if you can 3D print it, you can actually then physically understand whether it's right or not. I hope that answers the question. I can see you're a male, Lucky. Thank you very much. But I hope this is what you asked for. Thank you.
Thank you, Farhad. Thank you, Lucky. Apologies, I didn't understand it. So I would like to thank all our speakers. Thank you for staying a bit later. It's my organizing skills apparently are amazing. So thank you for staying over. Thank you for answering and your presentation and for answering all these questions. Just for our attendees here, please note that we have the communities where you can post more questions that I will make sure that I can pass it to our speakers. Also, for you, we have a quiz that speakers can also take. Paul, unfortunately, I took only 4 out of 10 in this quiz, but I hope the majority of you are much more better compared to me. It's a quiz related to engineering and architecture. I need to refresh my knowledge. So I will also post here, or someone can post the link for the quiz for you to take if you don't have to do anything better in your day. And also just to inform you that we will post the video on the Bentley Education channel, on the Bentley Education portal at some point when it's ready. So in case anyone would like to take a look, or you can also, for the speakers, if you want to post it on your media, I can share it with you. So thank you for staying over. Trust me, there will be more events like that to our attendees. There will be more events like that. And please, because we want this community to exist, please start posting your questions, your thoughts, anything on the communities. The link is on the chat box. Thank you everyone so much. Have a great day, and hopefully see you in person next time. Thanks a lot.
Thanks everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.